if I did pronounce well your name, and
Yeah.
good evening to your viewers of Africa Connect, or is
Okay.
Connect Africa.
Very good.
Um,
Okay, good evening. Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to Connect Africa. Here we are again to discuss one of the topics. I mean, the continent is in dynamic, as you know, but we bring, those hot topics to discuss here at Connect Africa that concerns us. And most importantly, what Connect Africa does is instead of hearing or, viewing what's happening in the continent or in Africa from the Western media or medias that are not from the continent, we base itself and then we let them to tell the story what's happening. So today we are going to talk about the turmoil in Chad, which started again on 14th of May last Sunday. To talk about that, we have here brother Abd-al Malik Titimbaye with us. He's based in South Africa, but he's Chadian. Welcome, brother Abdul Malik.
thank you, and thank you to your listeners and viewers as well.
Thank you. It's a pleasure really to have you here. Yes. So just a few words about brother Abdul Malik Titimbaye. He's an IT technician or a lecturer in IT technology at Cape Peninsula University of Technology. But he will briefly tell us who is brother Abdul Malik Titimbaye and his involvement, in social, socio-cultural or anything related with what's going to talk about today. Yes.
Thank you very much, Hale. My name is Abdul Malik Titimbaye. I'm from Chad. I studied here in Cape Town, and I finished my master's degree in information technology. And then I've been employed in the private sector as an IT lecturer. And then further on, I joined the public sector. At the moment, employed by the Department of Higher Education. I'm right now in between the Cape Peninsula University of Technology and the vocational technical education and training colleges, where I'm providing lecturing in higher certificate IT. And then there is some diverse what they call services from time to time as well that I do for the department, such as setting up their assessments, ICAS, and all those kind of things. Recently, I've been recruited as a consultant with the C3SA, the Southern Africa Cybersecurity Capacity Center, where we conducted a cybersecurity maturity model review of the Chadian government. It was around February, end of January, and then February. We went for a week there to do the review of the cybersecurity maturity model in collaboration with the University of Oxford and the Global Cybersecurity Center for Nations.
Okay, no, that's interesting. So, what brings us today to discuss is what's happening in Chad. I mean, there's a turmoil that started again. People are demonstrating, the views are on the street. There are like 5 people who are under arrest, who are a leader of a different organization, including one government official. Also, this demonstration started now, but Chad has been kind of in unrest for the past year, ever since the days of the late, the following the passing away of President Idris Deby and his son coming to power without having any election or anything. So just give us a historical background for our viewers. What is it? What is the motivation? Who are these people who are out on the street? What do they want? What caused it?
Okay. If we look at Chad is a French colony, and since the 1960s, we got our independence. You will see that the French government has one interest in Chad, and the interest is clear: is natural resources. And I think, if I recall very well, President General de Gaulle mentioned something. He says, France does not have friends, they have interest. So he said it clearly on his speech during those time, you know. And today what we see is the continuation of the operation of the colonial masters. And now people has just now been tired and rejecting that. And I'm going to come to the point of why they're rejecting that. In the early 1960s, if you look at our first president, when they actually built him, they actually provided him with everything from the south. He's from the south, which is Ngarta Tombalbay, our first president, Ngarta Tombalbay. So when Ngarta Tombalbay has been handed power, and then along the way, in the early 1970s, he started to change and looking at how can he address the problem of Chadians and the best interest of Chadians. He started to have problem with them. And that's one thing that actually the French government never wanted. So he was toppled by a coup by his close relatives who killed him in the 1975. We did not, and I think he did not prepare anyone to take over. That's why we actually went straight to a civil war. The country was divided. There was no leadership. Army was divided. And then actually it put us into a total chaos of 9 months of civil war. Coming down, Hissène Habré has taken over. When Hissène Habré has taken over from Gukniwa Day, because there was no government in place, and there was back forward amongst the different forces that are fighting, which is there is about three tendency. There was one that was for surgeon that is called Kamuge, who was leading from the south, and there is those two, which is the FAN, they call them the Force Army of the North, which are allied the two of Gukniwa Day and Hissène Habré. Now, those two as well were splitted into two, fighting each other for power until Habré came and then took power. When Habré took power, Idriss Déby was part of this group.
So
Things were running smooth.
Hambre took power when exactly? I'm learning as I sit behind this.
In the 1982.
Okay.
1982, 19, if I'm not mistaken. No. Not 1982. 1980. 1970, 1980, the war started to come down, and then 1980 he took somewhere. Then 1982, because the Libya as well invaded us at a certain period, so he took power after 1979, which is 1980. He took power.
Okay.
So when he took power, Déby was part of this movement, and things were running smooth. He put back the country into track, and then started his own politics, trying to rebuild the country.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a different agenda of the colonial power. When he wanted to build the country, they wanted to introduce what you call democracy. But that was not actually as well the biggest problem of Habré. They pretended that as if he refused to accept democracy.
Mm-hmm.
But the real reason behind him, he was the mineral resources. He went behind the back and actually negotiating with the American in the time of Reagan to exploit the petrol. And he left the Shell company, which is a French company that's dealing with oil, and he went to the Americans. And that's something that when the French government learned, they couldn't just forgive him for that. How
So
dare
both
you? You say
Shell and Total belongs
the
to
French.
French. Okay, I thought
Yes,
Shell was
belong
to
to
the.
the French.
Okay, okay,
Yeah, so those are French what they call the national companies, oil.
okay.
So when he moves and then he goes behind the back of the French government and then actually speak to the Americans and negotiating with the Americans, and I think the negotiation is more into the interest of the Chadians. I think in his time when he negotiated, he got about 51% that the revenue of the oil will come to the Chadian people. And I think 49 will be now taken by the company that will come in and exploit the petrol. As I'm speaking to you, the negotiation that took place and now the government of the previous government of Deby has dealt with the negotiation. I don't know, even our neighboring country are getting actually most of the benefit than even the Chadian people. And
Wow.
we don't even know where does this money goes to.
Hmm.
So it's a build up. It's a
Just like
build up.
Congo, just like Congo, the
Yes,
surrounding
exactly.
countries are getting rich, but not
Yes,
Congo.
exactly. That is
Yeah,
the same scenario
yeah.
like Congo. So what do we do? He must be punished. He must be replaced. And there is one thing that we learn from the French. They got this pernicious way to their colony so that
Hmm.
nobody else dare cross the
Hmm.
line.
Hmm.
That is the way they deal with their colonies, and in a brutal manner. They won't hesitate to do that. So they push. When did the connection started? When Deby went for his studies in France, and he studied in the military schools there. I think that's where now the connection has taken place. And when he returned, he was actually given a position, high-ranking position in the military, where he was the commander. You know, but I think as well, uh, Habre has as well sensed that there is something that is being cooked here, and
Mhm.
automatically, I think. Uh, what's his name? He started. There is some accusation that has been leveled against Idris Deby, but Idris Deby as well was smarter, and I think the smartness comes from the intelligence has been given to him by the French, because that's what they do, and they are good at that. So he has to leave and go, join the rebellion, and then I think he went at that time. He exited. He went for this rebellion. So if you look at it from the beginning, our problem is the mineral resources, and everything is being dictated. And from the 1960s, when they were giving us the independence, it was not even an independence. They already put a system in place when they were living, how to manage the country. Recently, when you see the recent killing of the president Idris Deby, there is a lot of question that the Chadian people did not get answers, and still people are asking the question, what really happened? And I think we will get to that when into your other question that you will be asking. We will really get to the clarity of all this. What actually happened there? We're still asking the question. There is a lot of speculations behind the killing of Idris Deby. I can't hear you. I don't know if you can hear me, but I can't.
Sorry, I muted myself, so now it's good.
Oh,
I have
okay,
been
okay.
hearing you. So, what is the connection between Idris Deby and the colonial power, the previous colonial power, or the neo-colonial power, France? What kind of connection do they have, and how that is linked to today's chaos in the country?
Uh, Remember, um, Deby, when he went to France, when Habre was in power and he went to France to study his
Mhm.
military schools, I think that's where the connection started. But
Okay.
he has given them everything. And as we know, that's always the Chadian people say that the problem is simple, is that Debbie is giving them everything that they want, and they do as they please in Chad. That's why the connection is. And I think one
So
of
he
the
was their agent. He was those one of neo-colonial agents.
yes, the neoliberalism, what they call, and they even call it the French African connection. If you, I think you should be aware of that, in the terms that they use, the French African connection, and they always have that representative, that person that should represent them within the African continent.
Mhm.
That's why you see we play a critical role even in the G5 Sahel. You know, uh, look at the deployment of the army, uh, of the G5. The Chadian is supplying about 1,850 soldiers there. So this is where their connection is. The oil, he has given them everything. Whatever that they want to do in Chad, they come, they do as they please. Jump, you just say how high, and then does it. So the population in the older days is not awake like these days, and the medium of communication has actually expanded so much that technology has offered people of seeing information what is happening in Congo, in Cote d'Ivoire. You can see it in a split of second. Is just a buildup of frustration from the 1960s that is being actually passed into generation and generation, and it's just now exploding now. The explosion of it is due to the fact that they were chased from what they call the Mali, and with no explanation. Look how confident they are, with no explanation. They just enter the territory in Chad, and they want to settle. And that's why the population says no. Even if we are a rubbish bin, we should have a kind of explanation why these rejected people that side come here. And we know the reason they come here to install is because they can do as they please. That's why even they feel like the population, like right now, they feel like even the current transitional government is put by this colonial power. And everybody knows that this is not a democratic way, because we had a constitution, and the constitution has a provision when the president died. So if the president is dead, there are certain provision on our constitution that will say, okay, this is what will happen. We got an assembly. We got the deputy speaker of the assembly. We got the first and the second and the third. So this is the entire issue that we are having here with this French. And now people even put aside this transitional government. They're attacking directly the source, the root cause of the problem. So the Chadian people are currently saying that all our suffering from the 1960s to now is you guys, and we don't want you here, literally.
Wow, interesting. I just want to remind our viewers one thing, that when Idris Deby died, it's his son who took power, and his name is General Mohammed Deby, Idris Deby.
Yes, it
Yeah.
no.
And before even anyone gives recognition to this, how do you say, transitional government, because eventually they promised that they will have an election, but which they didn't
Yes,
up until
yes,
now. It was the international community that gave it immediately recognition, of course, first France and then all the Western countries.
exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what they do. They jump quickly to give recognition. Even the African Union, who actually condemned, I've been following that. The chairperson of the African Union actually condemned the way in which that transitional government was put in place.
And
But
he's
somewhere,
Chadian. Just
Huh?
to remind
Yes,
again our
he
viewers,
is.
the
He
AU
is Chadian.
chairperson Faki Mohammed is Chadian.
Yeah.
We will come to that.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. Musa Faki is a Chadian. Yeah.
yeah,
And and
yeah.
and when he condemned that, I think he was called to retract what he says and support that, because
So,
of the French government is constantly interfering in our political affairs, internal political affairs. Because
so
how
Faki
can you
Mohammed.
understand today
Okay.
you sanction Mali and you don't talk about Chad? How is that possible? Look at this double standard of the African Union. And to actually, do we really have an African Union? An entity that's supposed to protect the integrity of the African countries now is being played around and dancing the same tune that the colonial power are doing.
Yeah. Um, so you're saying the AU chairperson, after they condemned it, following the international, so-called international or the Western government recognized this transitional government, so the AU supported it. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, the AU
Okay.
come back now, changing the language,
Okay.
supporting that.
Okay. So as we speak now, because the government has denied, as we speak now, are there French troops on Chadian in the territory of Chad?
They are there in the territory. They are in Ati province. Those are
But
the force of Bark.
it's denied. The government denied it. Am I right? I read like that.
Of course,
Yeah.
they will deny it, but the people on the ground are saying to them, we
Mm.
don't want those people here because they have seen them. They are there. And believe me, as we speak now, the military base are increasing, and that is worrying the Chadian population. We having in Jamena we have base Ajikose, which is one, and then you move on to out of Abeshe, another province. There is a military base there. You go to up north, there is another military base there, and so they are all over. In a sense, that is even actually suffocating the Chadian people. We used to see them before when they traveled. They travel freely. We don't even know those guys. They just go to bushes, they camp, and then after that, they return. We don't really know what are they doing. Some speculation are saying that those guys are not just military; those are geolog and all those things. And I discovered that in Mali. I'm hearing that in Mali, they discovered that there's some huge what they call gold that they were digging and having some mineral resources being taken away. You know, have you not heard about the incident during the father Idris Deby, where there were this French NGO who took about 100 and something kids. They were arrested at the airport and being asked, where are you taking those kids? No answers. They were arrested. Do you know that the President Sarkozy left what they call France to come to Chad and said that I will return those French people with an arrogance, not even coming and saying, why are you taking those kids for what purpose? He comes, he says, I will return with those French nationals. And this is how the French people are undermining Chadians. And this master and slave, what they call the mentality is in their mind. And they do as they please. Nobody can say anything to them. That's why they support only the type of government that cannot confront them or cannot say no to them. They need those government that when they say sit, they will sit. When they say stand up, they will stand up. When they tell them jump, they will ask them how high.
Okay. So what is now? What are the people? What are they demanding, the people on the street? If we can say
At the
one.
moment, the people on the street are just saying, the local are just saying that we don't want the presence of the French people here.
Okay.
We have enough. Since the independence, they have brought nothing. So what we want them to do is to leave. We don't want them to be there. That's what the people are saying to them. Because they were chased from one place and they come to now settle in a different place. And that's why the Chadians are saying no. And I think if the current government, transitional government, actually give a little bit of explanation or explain themselves, what is the reason of those French troops to come to Chad? I think somewhere, somehow, the population will buy into what they will say. But there is just a total shutdown and nobody says anything. And you just, one morning, you see a troop coming, that have been chased from Mali and then come just to, to to settle in your country, and there is no explanation, and that is what actually is revolting the entire. And they even pointing at the government and saying to them that you owe us an explanation. you know they're not attacking them, but they say, no, 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 you owe us an explanation, and if you don't give us an explanation, I think we'll even revolt against you you know
So you think if there's an explanation, whatever they bring, it could be a lie or whatever, then the people will go home. Then there will
Y-
be
I-
peace.
the feeling that I have, yes, the feeling that I have is that if there was some sort of explanation before those guys come and settle, I think it will easy what we're seeing now. It will easy what we're seeing now.
So they are not
Definitely,
basically asking for the troop to leave. They
yeah.
just want
But
explanation.
yes, because remember, those guys were not just yesterday, because they were supporting the government of Idris Deby for some times. When he was in power. And they are the one who are actually pushing the rebels whenever there are rebels who are trying to attack and all those things. So the airstrike and all those things are supplied by the French. They will go and bombard those what they call the uh, rebels and all those things. So they were keeping them away. You know. So it's not like this French army are here just recently. No, it's long way they were there. The question now, this revolt that we're seeing now, is that is the poverty level as well within the country is just so high. The gap between the rich and the poor. The infrastructure, there is no proper infrastructure. If you go to the healthcare system, is dysfunctional. You know, so those are other things as well that is bringing a lot of problems as well to the Chadians. And we always say that we are an oil producing country, but we don't see the benefit of that oil producing. You know, nothing is being seen there.
As you speak, as you have been responding to the question, I put a smile on my face, but that was not really a smile. You know, when you mentioned rebels, always when this neo-colonial armies wants to come to an African territory, there are two things that you hear on the media: rebel or terrorist group, and the natural resource. Those are every time it's linked. Take Congo, it's the same thing. I mean, DRC, it's the same thing. The way you describe Chad now is what is Congo's situation. I mean, it's a very poor infrastructure, but very rich in minerals. But the number of flights that leave Europe and America to come on daily basis to Congo with private jets, just to deal with private dealers, with the diamond and gold and everything. It's the same thing now Chad is going through. Now, just give us a background. Who are these rebels? Who created them even? I mean, are they the same time created when the troops were there?
The rebels issues, we got two sides of it. One is within the family of the president. When the president Idris Deby was alive, there was a tension among the family, and there is a divide between the cousins and brothers.
Okay.
So, like if you look at Timan and Tom, those are cousins of the president, and then they just went out in rebellion against their own brother. That is one side of things. So this is a quarrel within the family space. And then you got the others who we have seen during the time are opposing the oppression, the dictatorial regime of what they call the Debi, and the autocratic way of ruling. So you will find that some of his high-ranking officers will now defect from the army and then go and then fight back and things like that. So and then you have as well the Sudan side. Uh, uh,
Okay.
uh, there's another game that is playing on the other side of Sudan, which is the Janjaweed. Now, some people are being armed that side to fight, to come and then steal cow and camels in the I think eastern Chad, um, in the in that border. They will come and then fight and then steal and then go back. But those guys were armed by Umar el Bashir on the other side. Now, in the Chadians territory, those villages as well are being armed so that they can defend themselves. Now, at the end of the day, when peace talk come and diplomacy come, the two government met and then actually sort out the issues. When they went back to disarm those guys, they couldn't because they were heavily armed. It created another complexity on that region itself. So those guys who were armed now are fighting the government. So they were caught up. So we having those rebellion that are actually mushrooming within the family, and here as well between El Bashir and Idris Deby that we were having at that time, okay, and within the rank of the army that actually defecting from the army and then going due to some quarrel. Sometimes I remember one of the minister of defense that was slapped by a soldier. He retreated and then straight he went to the rebellion after that, and he was fighting the government of Idris Deby at the time, because for the simple reason that there were a negotiation, and when he was coming to enter the presidency, I think they told him no, you couldn't enter, and he told them I'm the minister of, and then the guy slapped him, and that is the start of a rebellion as well. So those are the issues, but those rebellions that I'm talking about, somewhere somehow, we believe that the French government has its hand on it. That's how they
So
play the game.
the ammunition are supplied by the French
Yes,
government.
because at the end of the day, where do those guys get their weapon?
Yeah.
And as well, there is another what they call players who is the Qatar. You know, Qatar as well. They hibernating those rebels there by them. And someone you ask yourself the question, maybe they are supplying as well weapons to those guys. So because you see some sophisticated weapons that even sometimes the army does not have it. And at the end of the day, war is money. So where do they get those uh, money from to buy those weapons? And it becomes as well like a business. We having some people from the army defecting going, and then after that you will see that there is a reconciliation and they've been paid a lump sum amount of cash. And they will say that we reconcile and then we are back. So it was starting to nobody actually is looking at we are Chadian and let us look at the best interest of the Chadians. It's all about looting. It's
So
all about looting.
yeah, quickly, what is the interest of Chad in Sahel, or is it just serving for the French as
What
a
is the
interest of Chad in Sahel,
in Sahara?
Sahel region?
Oh, Sahel region. Oh, you know, in the Sahel region, I don't think that they go in the name of jihadists and all those things. Um, I think they have an agenda in the Sahel region. Remember, this Sahel region, we are talking about the oil in the south. But if you look at the Sahel region and the north, because the Sahel goes up to the north, our north, that is where the real what they call the resources are. Because if you look at the army, French army, they are more into that region, not into the south. And the question is why? In the name of jihadists, but there is something else that those guys are getting in the under the ground, in the mineral resources. And that's why even Gaddafi wanted to annex our north. Remember our war with Gaddafi in the 1980, 87, 86, yeah, around there, yeah, 1980, yeah, 6, 7. Those were the days where Gaddafi wanted to take Band of Auzu. Why? It's because of the mineral resources. This area is full of mineral resources. If you talk about oil, platinum, if you talk about gold, eh, name it. These things are in, I don't know, uh, magnitude there, compared to the sea. There is nothing as oil there. Go that side. The oil is there. That's why Gaddafi put eyes on it until Habre fought him and then won. And then the international, what do you call the court, has given the right to Habre to say that no, this section belonged to Chad. That's why Gaddafi backed off. So the protection to that area, the Sahel region, up to Niger, Mali, is all about the mineral resources. Let us not divert ourselves about jihadists or anything like that. Because you find those soldiers camping, they got military base there. We don't know this flight that are going in and out. We don't know what they are taking from there. We just don't know. We have no idea because we don't have the technology, first of all. Ask me even our oil that is being pumped out of the south. Believe me, they don't even know how many barrel of petrol are taking, in a daily basis. They don't even have a clue about the amount that is going out of that.
They are all French companies extracting the oil.
At the moment, I think it's a American company. It's not a French company.
Quickly tell me, what are the Dutch doing in Chad, the Netherlands? What is their involvement?
The Netherlands,
Mm-hmm.
those ones, they are not seen a lot. Remember, now this period of transition, anyone that you see going to Chad at the moment, they want to loot because there is no government that is in place that can actually really surveil and see and control what is coming in and out. I went recently there. I was staying in one of the five-star hotel, Radisson Blue. You know, it's been booked for us. The type of people that I see in and out is shocking. There is no control. Anyone who is coming into what they call the nominated as a government personnel, public servant, or anything, their ideology and mindset is to loot because there is no proper structure.
Yeah.
There is no
So
proper structure.
uh,
So I'm not
let's
I'm not I'm not really surprised when you said, "What are the Netherlands doing there?" The
Because I mean,
Chinese,
they go in the name of. I'm in the Netherlands, and I know from my university, people go. Senior researchers go there. University academicians go to Chad, and there's a different involvement. Of course, they bring their research, their publish a report on Sahel, different things. But I was just because it's just interesting how many countries are involved in there, and then the level of poverty while the country is going down.
you
we
see,
see this is the French, but there are also others. I'm gonna go now next to maybe you can link it. Tell
okay.
me, what is Israel's interest in Chad? First, I will tell you there's an interesting development right now. While Musa Faki Mohammed is in his second term as African Union, he
Yes,
actually gave an observatorship for Israel before member states approve it. Okay, and it was they said it was just uphold there, and they said they're gonna vote. But in January during the summit, it didn't happen. It is again postponed because many of the member states didn't agree on what to be done. And then recently, actually today, in less than 24 hours, I read that the Israeli deputy director general or head of Africa division in the foreign affairs tweeting, congratulations to my friend and colleague at
mhm.
Ben Burgel on presenting his credentials to to President Mohammed, meaning the general, the son of Idris Deby, by this making history, being the first Israeli ambassador accredited to Chad in 50 years. What is what is that connection going on between Chad? What is the interest of Israel in Chad?
Um, remember, um, what his name, Idris Deby, when he was alive.
Mhm.
He's the one who pushed that agenda, I think, with Musa Faki to bring the create a channel of diplomatic, what they call the relation with Israel.
Mhm.
I think it's purely based on security. Um, Deby started to distance himself from the colonial masters. And when he was distancing himself, he knew the consequence of it. I believe so. He knew the consequence of it. So, approaching himself to um, Israel, I think it will give him more security. And as well, for Israel, I think um, they will gain as well if they might demand certain things that Debi should actually accomplish for them. Say, for instance, we are a country that we border with Libya, Sudan, and that's not for Egypt as well. Egypt is not direct border with us, but we are strategically on that line. So for Israel, I think that would be as well another interesting what they call the area of development. I'm trying to figure that out as well in terms of having their own security against this region who might cause a problem to them as well. Remember,
That
Chad
is
got a,
besides the natural resource, of course.
yes. No, that's beside natural resources in terms of
In addition to the natural resource.
yes. If you look at it, is this geopolitics playing more into the the Israeli sees Chad as well as a we are more of a Muslim dominated, if I can say,
Mhm.
if it's not 50-50,
Mhm.
Muslim dominated. So if they penetrate this side and the level of uh, analphabets is very high, the level of education you see is very high. People are not educated, that much educated in Chad. So penetrating there and having a diplomatic relation with Chad will give them an advantage. I think in terms of threat that might come from maybe Egypt, or from that side of Libya or Sudan.
Mm.
That's just my own what they call the assumption that I'm making here.
Mhm.
But I'm not quite clear on to pinpoint. I'm still as well trying to figure out really their deep rooted interest that they have in Chad, because they left, I think, during the 1960s, if I'm not mistaken, or 1970s, when our president they took what they call the stand against the, I think, the 6 Day War against
It's a 1970. It was
yes,
1973 or so.
1970, yeah. And then
Yeah.
they expel all the Israelis embassy from those African countries, you know.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm, mm.
So their
Interesting. Yeah.
return, their return is quite strategic, and I think is gonna more benefit them. But still, I'm still thinking about this relationship that they wanted to build there, that will go, but it has to do with Egypt and Sudan.
You be honest and tell me, can we expect a Mali-like revolution in Chad? Or it doesn't take us anywhere, the current
Uh,
demonstration?
with the current demonstration, people are tired and people are hungry,
Mm.
and at this point in time, they have nothing to lose. The revolution will be intensified, and the problem is, what we're having here is we're having a fragile government. This transitional government is not that, is uncertain. Every day, believe me, we are sitting here, we just praying that things go well, so that we go into a transitional government, that election will take place and we'll have a president that is elected democratically. People are tired as well of this military government.
Mhm.
That's another thing. People are tired of this military government because it did not serve us at all from the 1970s up to now. We haven't seen anything that actually is improving. So,
As we
the,
speak, on what situation is this demonstration? Are people still on the streets, or they're just tired and go back home and continue their daily life?
no, now they are giving ultimatum, because I see that now the different other provinces are saying that we are supporting what is happening there in Jamena. So the current government need to act, but the problem is now they put five of them in jail. Those opposition party, which is like those who started the demonstration, which is Wakitama, which is the Wakitama means time has come. That's what it means. Time has come.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's one of the opposition parties that started this march. So
And they have given a day, the transitional government has given them a deadline to
um,
respond or to explain or to
nope.
meet their demand in any way.
Yes, actually, individuals are just throwing some what they call videos and podcasts to tell the government that, listen here, this is what we want you to do. But there is no formal way that actually was put to the government. But they are actually telling them that, listen here, this is what we want you to act on. Or either way, both of you, your French and you, this government, you should actually go. That is where we are. Remember, chat is very complex. We don't have a what they call an, a united army, a national army. This is an ethnic army, and people are grouped into ethnics. It might degenerate into a different what they call the kind of scenario that we don't want. We have suffered for more than 20 years.
But I really have a question, because this might explain even what is going on in my country, which is Ethiopia. So, ever since your independence, you didn't have a national defense force, or it's something after dividing the country by ethnic groups? then it's then purposely the national defense forces dissolved into ethnic armies.
Remember, after our first president was killed, Ngarta
Mhm.
Tombalbay, I think the national what do you call, army is just been splitted and it's
Okay,
been
so
transformed.
you have had one anyway. Yeah,
We
you have
had
had.
one before,
Okay.
and then when that president was killed, it's just been transformed totally. Uh,
So
and
who created these groups of armies by
the the, the
ethnically?
the the French is the
The French.
colonial master. They play always this dirty game. They always play this dirty game. So divide and rule is their ultimate what they call the uh, strategy.
And they
And
supply the ammunition to all ethnic groups that are fighting against each other.
no, that's what they did in Car, in the Republic of Car.
The Central African Republic.
Yes, the Central African Republic. They arm certain groups and then go and disarm others and then send them to kill. And those are the things that we see, especially in the French colony. You know, in the French colony, this is what we see. It happened in Car, it happened in Rwanda until Kagame chased them away. You know, in Congo is the same thing that is happening in Congo that is happening in Chad at the moment. In Congo, the father died, they took the son, they put him, and then they want to do the same in Chad now. The father passed away. Now they put the son.
This is also what America does, by the way. I mean, all those Western governments. It's no
Yeah.
exception for France.
Sorry.
France presence in Africa is dominant. That's why, especially in West Africa. Tell me, is there there are regional governments in Africa and regional governments, regional organizations. Sorry, excuse me. And those are, the one immediately who act whenever there is a problem in one sovereign state in Africa. For example, for the Mali, it's ECOWAS who took first, who took which took that measure of sanction. Is there a Central African, how do you say, Central African regional organization, or is it
Yes, the
part of the
yes,
Greater Lakes?
there is this Semak. They call it Semak. Semak is Cameroon, Chad, Car.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think those guys there they call themselves Semak. And Nigeria as well is part of it. Huh? I think if I'm not, oh, no, Nigeria is not part of it.
So far,
Niger,
what kind of action did it take regarding to
no.
SEMA?
Semak is dictated by the colonial power. Did you know those guys? They, I don't know if they really have any say in this. What is happening? Those are institutions who are in place that actually given an agenda to fulfill the objective and goal of the colonial master.
Okay, we want to conclude this before 1 hour, and we have like 4 minutes. What is it that the Chadian use, or the majority of Chad expects from its African brothers and sisters? I mean, for the viewers, in what way you need support?
You know,
Or what
to
kind of message you want to get across?
to share the light of what is happening in Chad and then actually relate our story as it is, not by certain media who got certain agenda, who go there and actually they twist the story of the real people on the ground. Because if we cannot get the problem of Chadians in the context of Chadians and related to the outside world, our brothers and sisters understood it, that this is our position, and then we'll just get it all wrong. Because along the way, the media that are going there, they are not going actually to portray the real story. They just give certain junk of the story and then they twist it, they edit it actually to suit their need. So the information is totally transformed. So internally, people are still suffering, and the truth is not being told. So that's what I can say from my side.
So for now, to create awareness and bring that story or narrative of
Very important.
Chad to be told by Chadian.
Yes, very
Exactly.
important.
And this is what this Connect Africa, which is a Pan-African platform, is doing, to tell the stories of Africa by Africans. And of course, Africa is a continent, but something happens in Somalia, the Somalis should be able to tell their story. Something happens in Ethiopia, the Ethiopians should be able to tell the story. But then, of course, we can, usually what I do is I engage one or two people from the country itself, and then I plan for a bigger panel, maybe 3 4, by bringing the neighboring countries so they have a say. So what I can do is maybe today, thank you very much for coming and enlightening us on what's happening in Chad. People are there are some people, some countries in the continent are hot every day. There is something going on, like Ethiopia has been for the past 2 years on media, and some countries
Mhm.
there is still problem and people don't know really what's going on. Chad, what's even the population, what's even the GP,
Exactly.
yeah, their income per capita, and what kind of natural resource they have. Who is there, which Western countries there now, because pretty much in every in every country in the continent, the US, look at the US, all the
Mm.
AFRICOM, in East Africa alone, I think, except Ethiopia, in every country there is in Djibouti and Eritrea, except Eritrea. There is in Djibouti, there is in Kenya, there is in Somalia. Which one I did? There is everywhere. Africom they have in West Africa, there is in Southern Africa, and same is true with French, as with France as well, with their previous colonies. So
Mm.
it's good that you tell us, you gave us some kind of historical analysis of what's happening. So maybe in the near future, even next week, what we can do is let's bring people from CEMAC, activists,
Okay. Yes.
intellectuals, from Cameroon, CAR, who are
Mm.
affected by this in general, and let them also tell, and including yourself, of course, bringing the Chad perspective as well. And we can give this platform, I promise here, to arrange that, and maybe you can help in identifying, people to present and tell us the story. I will give you 1 minute and put your message out there, and after that we will say goodbye to our viewers. Yes.
Thank you very much for having me on your platform. It's really nice that we engage like this, because we need such platform actually to share ideas and then relate our stories. And I greatly appreciate. And until next time, I wish again to be back so that we can share more light into certain issues that are pertaining, you know, our country and Africa as a whole. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. Creating awareness is where it starts. When you
Yes.
inform people, you empower people. You have to
Yes.
really pass
Definitely.
that knowledge. Even if it reach 1%, 2%, 10 people, it doesn't
Mm,
matter. We don't have to beg for the Western media to bring our narrative. Anyways, they don't do it. But every little opportunity that we get, we need to come and tell the story. And I can also connect to you with, similar Pan-African platforms for them to get interested in what's happening in Chad. And we do the same. We have to support each other, empower each other. And people say here, Chad will soon be freed by its people. It's just a matter of time. Yeah, okay. Yeah. And somebody said interested in Connect Africa Talk. So thank you very much.
thank
Thank
you.
you for
Thanks.
having me here. It was a pleasure to have you here. And until next time, bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks. Thank you.
Bye.